Hey guys, let me actually turn off. So let's see. Okay, I think we're good. I have hair in my mouth. Okay, you are up close and personal with me again today because I want you to be able to see like how much paint I add to my bowl and things like that. So we are up close again and not so far away. Yeah, and we're gonna talk about dyeing today. I listened to a few of the questions that you had, and some of the things I've already gone over, but it's good to have it just in one video. And as you know, the theme for our week at Love Sola Flowers is back to the basics. So we already talked about like the basic flowers you should always have in inventory. And then yesterday we talked about stemming difficult flowers. Hi everyone. So today we're going to talk about dyeing. There's so much we can talk about dyeing. I've done hand painting videos and things like that, so make sure you check those out as well. But I'm going to try to cover as much as I can right now with you all. And please ask questions, stop me as I'm going, and we can just kind of walk through how I dye. And again, it doesn't mean that everybody does it the same way, but I will show you what I do. And yeah, so you can ask me questions about what flowers I dip, what ones I hand paint, stuff like that. So feel free to shoot me questions while I'm doing the video. And we're gonna just start with some basics. Thanks, Erica. We're gonna start with some basics. I will do a little bit of hand painting. I know someone asked me to do a rose that was like darker in the middle and then lighter at the top. So I am gonna do that. But if anyone right now, before I start mixing paints and water, so I don't have to get up and down, is there any questions that anyone wants to see while I'm sitting here right now before I have anything in this bowl? I am going to show you the differences in using like a lot of paint and using a little bit of paint. And we're going to talk about like vibrancy and things like that. So please, if you have questions now, tell me now so that I don't have to like get up and down mixing all these different bowls. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just picking the garbage out of this bowl while we're waiting for a few more people to jump on. I have been careful the last few days saying I was going to be on at a specific time because sometimes my day gets a little crazy. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be on time, and I'm running around, and I didn't want to do that. So I know this was kind of a surprise time visit. It didn't give everyone like a big head start. But Carla, I do not use glycerin. I have felt the flowers with glycerin and they are super soft and great. I don't know, because it's a new thing, I'm not sure how they're gonna last long term. And so for me, I haven't started using it yet. I probably would use a different formula than the percentages that were given. I probably would just use a little splash of it. But it's also an added expense. My flowers with the Bear paint, which is what I use, Bear latex paint, are pretty soft. So actually I can show you one in a second. But I have not used it yet. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but I just would like to see how they last in the long term before I did that. So let me just show you though one of my flowers in the paint that I use. So we dyed these, and this is Bear paint, and they stay soft. See? So I don't know. I haven't played around with glycerin or anything like that, but I use Bear latex paint. If a bride can't get to a Home Depot, then I will use a different brand. But I mean, you know, I'm not really sure how much squishier I need them to be, because they're fine for me. And they do harden like after a few days. Hi, Jessie. They do harden, you know, a little bit more, but by the time they get a little harder, the bouquets are already done and you're not like fooling around with it. But I mean, I don't know. I'm good. I'm good with what I got, but I'm not saying that it wouldn't work or whatever, but we're pretty good here. And these were done 3 days ago, so I could probably just squeeze them all and it just, yeah. So I haven't used it, so I can't give you any tips about that. So if that's what you're wondering, I can't help you. Yeah. So I've got like webs on me already. So, okay. That is a finished one. Okay, so we're gonna talk about hand painting and dipping and all that kind of stuff. So if you have a question, ask it, but I'm gonna start with dipping, and I'm gonna show you how you get different shades of the paint with just by adding the water. Okay? Okay. Let's see. So I have navy blue. Hi, Janet. I have navy blue, and that's the color I'm going to use because blues, let me see if I have a red. Blues, reds, and all that are super sensitive to how much water that you're going to use for it. So I'm going to start with navy blue, and I'm going to show you the different kind of shades you can get just from adding water. And we'll start now. So I have my bowl. Let me shake it a little bit better. I'll show you the paint I used. Now, I don't always use Marquee. It just depends on what color you want, because when you pick a color, it'll tell you like what base it has to be. But again, this was just navy blue. Chalk paint is like, well, besides that it's chalky, but I like it. It'll have a little bit more sheen to it, just because flowers are in general like dewy. But like this is when I hand painted, so this was really watered down. But anyway, let me put this in here and we can start. I brought up a bunch of shell twisty flowers so we can lay them next to each other so you can see what they look like on the same flower. Okay? So I'm going to put some paint in. I'm going to show it to you nice and close so you can see how much. People always ask me my ratios and stuff like that. I don't measure, so I really couldn't tell you what my ratio is. I just do testing and then I add more paint or I add more water. So anyway, I'm gonna put some paint in, but again, I'm gonna start out light and we're gonna go darker. So right now that's what I put in. If you can see this, good. And I'm just gonna add some water. Again, I'm not doing like a million flowers. So this is gonna be like the watery-ishest we get. So this would be, let me show you. And I usually stir it with my fingers, which is what I'm gonna do in about a second. But this would be where you can hand paint because it needs to be kind of super wet. Okay? And I will show you. So this is kind of going to be the lightest. Let me add a little bit more water because I wanna show you the different shades. So when you're hand painting, you want it pretty watery. But the thing about it would be then is that it's, oh, did I just put it on my forehead? Is that it's going to be a lighter shade. So I want you to see, do you see how it's darker for real? But because I have a lot of water, it's not as dark as the actual paint, right? So I'll hand paint this guy. Okay, so let me just show you when I'm hand painting this, like how watery it is. It's a pretty light blue. It's not navy navy. The waterier it is, the more it will bleed. So when you're hand painting, if you want that kind of watery, like watercolor effect, you're gonna want it pretty watered down, obviously. And as you can see, this is kind of like a bright blue. It's not so dark. It's kind of weird doing this backwards, but super easy to hand paint actually. Sometimes it's like just as fast to hand paint as it is to dip it, depending on the look you're trying to get. So does anyone have questions right now on hand painting? Because that's what I'm showing you right now. So again, the waterier your paint, the easier it is to hand paint. But again, you're going to not get that exact dark shade. So if you're wanting it as dark as it is in the container, you're going to need to add more paint. And then that gives you a different look though with hand painting. So I'm not really making any kind of design here, but I'm just showing you. I don't necessarily have a finish. Semi-gloss tends to give you a different shade. So I actually started using matte more often than semi-gloss because semi-gloss seems to affect the shade of it. But it doesn't not work. But yeah, so I use between semi-gloss and flat. I haven't used any other finishes. Guys, I'm not really doing any specific design right now. I'm just showing you how, if it's watery, how you can kind of get in there. Okay. This isn't like a specific flower I'm trying to dye. Okay. All right. Again, I'm just picking something here. Okay. Now, if you want it to be as dark as what it truly is, you're going to have to keep adding more and more paint. So let me dye one twist so we can line them up next to each other. This is pretty watery enough to hand paint. Now, when I dye, I tilt my liquid to the side, and I always hold my flower with the back towards my hand so that the front face of it is facing the tilted liquid, so that it like pours into the center as opposed to pouring on the back, which would leave lots of white spots in the center. Okay, so I'm just gonna flip it around in there. You can use gloves if you don't want your hands to have paint on them for days, but my hands are just used to paint all day long. But so I'm just going to spin it in there, making sure I cover it, making sure I tip it enough that I get all my white spots. Sometimes I like scoop it if I have to. And then I just shake it out. Now I also oven dry, but that's personal preference on how you want it to be dried. Okay, so I'm gonna put this one to the side. I'm gonna show you as we add more paint how it changes. Does anyone have any questions about just dipping and mixing yet? Okay, because if not, I'm gonna do the next one. So then I'm just gonna add more paint. Now again, with navy and red, orange, those kind of colors, you need a lot of paint if you're wanting them true to size, because if you use red very watered down, it will look pink. It's not really bottled water, Janet. I just put it here so that I could have it. It's from my sink. But Christina, okay, so I'll show that at the end, okay? Jill decided to do this whole shake a bag thing. It was like shake and bake chicken, but for your flowers. And it works really well. So I will show you that actually at the end, because it's pretty spectacular. It like cut our time in like half, but it's a little weird, but I'll show it to you after, okay? But this is how I usually dye. Anyway, I added more paint. And again, just take something like, take a tester flower so that you can see what your shade is, so you're not ruining flowers that you really need. So again, I'm just tilting it and I'm just twisting it around. I'm afraid that with these being wet, you're not going to see the shade difference, but we'll see if they can dry a little bit. I might have a red I can use to show you too, because that one is a very big shade difference. But can you see the differences? Let's see. Can you see with the lighting that there's a difference? Can you, like in real life, there's a difference. Jill, I might not dance while I shake it, but can you see that the more paint you add, the darker and more vibrant it is? I hope so. I do think I have like a red somewhere in my house that I can show you too, mixed already. But okay, so more paint, darker, more vibrant, more true to color, okay? I probably could go one shade darker if you want me to show you that, but I think you get the concept, right? Yes, no? Okay, more paint, darker, more vibrant. The more paint, the closer to the actual color that you're wanting. Is that good? Good? Yes, I can see. Okay, good, you can see. I know that lighting is sometimes weird too, so. And if I did almost all the paint, it would be even darker. It's pretty close. It's pretty close, but that's how you do shades. Again, if you were to do red watered down, it would be like pink, and then it gets redder and redder and redder as we go. So does anyone have any questions about dip dyeing and how to get closer to your color? It's really easy, guys. You just stick it under the dye. But I always tilt it, like I said, and I spin it around. What were some other questions that people wanted about dyeing? I have some other colors here. I know that people asked about hand painting, which I will do a rose with a center. Here, this is hot pink, so I'm gonna do hot pink. All right, so for more delicate flowers, I do them the same way. I dip it, I just hold them more delicately, but let's just look at something like this. And we've talked about like pinched ends or twisted ends. For a normal size wedding, how much paint do you use? Well, because you usually have multiple colors, I don't usually use, I use like at the max I would use is something like this. But it also depends on like the color. So with blue and red and orange and some of those darker colors, like a dark purple, like you would use maybe one of these full things. So, okay, so let's just do the pink real fast. So I know you guys asked about these like pinched edges and things like that. And so I don't dip dye anything with a curled edge at all, because it just takes too much, like time and effort. I don't have time and effort. So there is a video about how to dye bird roses, and my trick for bird roses is I actually put a little drop of hot glue on the edges and I roll it into it so that's permanently rolled. But for these kind, I just hand paint them, and you can go up to the crack, and if you don't sit there very long, you can quickly coat it without it undoing. But these are difficult because when they're made, they're pinched to be like that. So if you get it too wet, it will unravel. But usually if you hand paint something, you can get it very quickly painted. And you're gonna want to do these ones with like pinched edges. You're gonna want to do them with more paint than water, because you want to be able to go quickly over it, get coverage, and then like get your brush off of that pinched edge. So something with a pinched or rolled edge. I know some people spray paint as well. So I think that that's a good option too, spray painting. I just don't have like time and effort to do spray painting, and plus it's hard to find the exact color then because I'm asking brides from far away. But if you're just doing home decor and it's just a color that you want, certainly spray painting some of these edges is not a bad idea. I'm not gonna do the back side, but see how they stayed because I quickly, and even though that, they're still a little bit undone, and I can just squeeze them as they're drying. But just touch it with the paint super, super fast. Don't let it like get super soaky. Okay, another question that was asked was like flowers that have delicate petals. So like this one is super delicate, right? So again, the key is just not keeping it in the water too long, okay? So also, if you keep it in the water too long, sometimes they untie in the back because you've made the petals so wet and squishy that they come out of their string. So don't hold it in your dye for very long. Like spin it around, get it out, especially for these delicate ones. You're gonna spin around, get it out, and dry it, and then if there's any white spots, you can just go in with a paintbrush. So I'll just dye this one, because we can. So I'm gonna like lean it to the side again. I'm gonna do it face up and spin it that way because I want it to pour into the crevices of this. And if you have flowers that are a little smushed, as soon as you roll it through, you can move your petals because they'll be wet. And then, you know what I mean, like it'll be easy to fluff it right while you're doing it. So, okay, let me just do this one real fast. Again, I try not to keep them in very long for these delicate petals because they start to fall apart if you wait too long. Let me shake it out and I'll show you. I just painted my table and now I'm just putting more paint on my table. Guess I have to redo it. Okay, so again, that's how fast I dipped it in there because I did not want it to sit down in my dye. I don't go crazy. If I did miss a white spot, which I don't think I did, but if I did miss a spot, I'll just go back with a brush and touch that up. Okay, any questions about those kind of petals and anything like that? I will show you what we've been doing with the baggie because it's kind of crazy because it does work, but I get a little nervous about it. More nervous that's around like all over my house, but I'll show you. Let me grab a bag that I have already. Okay, so we have a gallon Ziploc bag. I'm not suggesting this for fragile flowers at all, okay? We've done them on New Beauties. We did these, I'll show you. Oh. We did these hydrangeas the same way. And look, it was perfect. Literally, she shook it up and it was covered in like 5 seconds. So, I don't know. Could be a new fun way, I don't know. All right, so this has got my paint and my water, like how much I needed. It's double bagged, gallon size bags. And then she just throws the flour in. Now, I'm not saying I've done this even before, but she threw the flour in and she mushed it all around and then it looks good. So let's just try that. So she also messed up my whole house, but we're good. It works, so it's dripping down my hand, but yeah, Erica, I feel like I may be too, but it does fill every little drop. Like there is no white on any of the flowers that she's done. She did a really good, she like dyed double the amount of flowers that we usually do in the same amount of time, and none of them needed to go back with a paintbrush. So I don't know, could be something to try out. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't even want to turn the camera around because it's embarrassing, but I have like 100 of these because I keep them for about 2 weeks because while I'm working on weddings in case I need to touch up. So they're all over my house. So how great that you could use the Ziploc bags. You can label them, you can line them up in a box, and then you just chuck them in the garbage. To me, that sounds pretty easy compared to having to wait for them to dry instead of pouring it down a drain, peeling it out, all that other kind of stuff. So for me, the baggie idea was like a really good idea, but I'm not sure I would put my really delicate flowers in there. But it worked for dahlias, which are really difficult to get into the crevices. So anyone have any questions so far on any of the stuff that we didn't? Actually, let me just show you. So I dip dyed this one. Can you see that there's some white? Maybe you can't see that there's some white. There's some white in there that I didn't get, but like on the one that I shook, there's no white. So anyway, just saying. No, less paint for the baggie, Christina. Actually, because when you use this, right, when it gets to the very bottom, you can't turn it enough to cover your flower. So with the baggie, because you're just shaking it up and down, it actually uses every drop of paint. So we were using less paint, less water that way. So anyway, that was just a random tip we found out this week. Okay, how about dyeing ones with skin on them? Does anyone want to know how to do that? No one's asking questions. Everyone had questions when I posted it, but no one's asking questions now. Let me do this blue and I'll show you what I do for that. Let me move these. Okay. I'm going to put this one in. Now, when it has skin, I like the skin to be seen, right? So I always have a Q-tip. And when I dye it, I kind of just go my Q-tip over where the wood is, just so that it reveals it a little bit more. Okay, so I'm gonna dip this real fast. Again, I tilt it to the side and I just rotate it through. So like an almond, this is an almond. I probably would not put this in a baggie because these petals are super fragile. And I love almonds blue because, yeah. Oh yes, Shelly, that would be so great for home parties. You don't even know how many times I've had to do like boxes of like 100 Tupperwares, and then I have to bring them home to wash them out. Oh, it's a mess. That would be so smart. All right, so I'm gonna take my Q-tip. This is what my hand looks like on a daily basis. I'm just so used to walking around with paint, but certainly wear gloves if you feel like, you know. Oh, thanks, Christina. Okay, so I'm just gonna go over the wood part, the skin part, with my Q-tip. Do you see how I'm doing that? And just taking off some of that excess paint so that the brown actually shows through, because I prefer it with the paint. Jill can hose you off outside. That's like what I need sometimes. Jill just asked me today, she's like, how often do you shower? Because I shower in the morning, I shower at night, I shower like crazy, and I'm still covered with paint. It's like, I usually shower twice a day, and one of them is usually a bath where I'm sitting in the water for like 30 minutes, and I still have paint up and down my feet. I have it on my feet, my leg, I don't even know what I do. I'm a mess, but it's okay. At least I am very clean about it. It's just that my hands will stay like this for a good few days. Okay, so on any of the flowers that have skin, you can just do this where you're taking a Q-tip and you're wiping it off the skin, because I like to see that skin shine through, especially on these like almonds. Okay. See how you can see it, the brown as well. Jill, just because I'm covered in paint, it's not, Jill's so used to seeing me like in head to toe paint that sometimes if I use a big bucket, it's up to here and it stays there for a few days. It's just, I don't know, I'm over it. So, did you say how to type paint? Okay, Gabby, I have a whole video on peonies. I wanted to do a peony for you today, but I'm out of peonies, so I can't show you. But Gabby, if you look in our fun group and do a search on peony, actually, Erica, can you maybe find that link of where I did the dyed peonies? I showed how to do them. Okay, so I have done a peony before. I have hand painted hydrangea before. So some of this stuff is repeat. So, okay. Someone else asked me about flowers that are curled. Again, I don't dip dye curled ones. If I needed them to be dyed, I would either airbrush them or paint, spray paint them. I don't open the almonds any further because they could start to fall apart. Where's my almond? I don't open it at all. I love I mean, it's pretty open. Almonds come pretty open. There's really nothing to open on an almond. The almonds are pretty perfect. I love the almonds. Okay, let me put it back. So if it has a curled edge, I generally don't even dye them. It will be what the raw flower is in an arrangement. If you do a bird rose, you can put them upside down in the little cups or in a muffin tin, but I don't do that. But I do airbrush it or I spray paint them if I have to. But let's just say something like this. I think this is called Mademoiselle. And I want it to have color. I do not want to touch the outside. So there's a few of them that I won't touch at all. Like the Duchess, I tried to dye it and I really ruined it. And I hand painted it and I still ruined it. So there are a few that I don't want to ruin and I don't touch them. But this is one that you can hand paint, and it's going to be, someone sent a picture of something they wanted where you can have it dark with color on the inside and then it fades out so that the outside stays white where it's rolled, and it won't unroll, but it'll look cool because you'll still see color, but it'll look more like, I can't think of the word, but you know what I'm talking about. So, you know, where it's dark on the inside and then it goes lighter on the outside, whatever that's called. So let me just get my paintbrush and I'll show you how I paint these rolled ones. And I have this like peachy-ish color. So I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna peel back my petals a little bit. Again, these are very watered down, and I'm just gonna start in the center, and I'm just gonna do it up toward the petals. This is actually not so watery, so I can get like a dark color on the inside. And I'm just gonna go, yeah, kind of like an ombre. That wasn't the word I was thinking of, but I'll use that word if you want me to. There was another word I was thinking of, but it's not coming to my brain right now. So I'm gonna just, I'm not gonna go straight like a line. Like I want it to be like wispied up so it does it naturally. And then what I'm gonna do is after I get this dark color, I'm gonna add more water to it, and then I can go up a little higher and it look natural. I'm afraid I'm gonna turn it blue with my fingers being blue, but okay, so I'm just gonna go on the inside. Again, this is pretty like thick paint for hand painting, but I'm gonna add water to bring it up further. Yes, that's what I was thinking of, Brandy. Gradient, isn't it called gradient or something? But I couldn't think of the word gradation. I don't know. I don't know all the little artist terms. Like I wasn't an artist when I got into this. Like I have always had an eye for design, but like I never did like art stuff where I learned terms or anything like that. Can you see this? Am I sitting at a right angle that you're actually seeing it, or am I just doing this for my own self here? Okay, so I'm putting this darker color. Okay, remember the more paint, the darker and more true to color your paint will come out. So I'm going to do it darker now, and then I'm going to add more water so that it naturally flows into the white. I'm hoping not to turn this flower blue with my fingers here, but let's see what we got going on. I mean, this is like a tedious thing. Like, I like to hand paint flowers if I didn't have to get stuff done, but it is tricky. So I like to leave these guys raw, but for the sake of knowing how to, and because sometimes you just, you know, have requests for some of these kinds of flowers. Okay, so I'm gonna keep going into the center, and then I'm gonna add more water to make it a little bit more watery. Are you being able to see this? Am I holding this at a good angle? I'm just peeling back each layer and going in there. I love my sapphires at my wedding. Yay! Yeah, so airbrushing, although I've had some bad experiences with airbrushing, even with these, it does come out. It does unroll it too if it's like, it could get too wet still with airbrushing. So I've been really researching airbrushes, and I haven't found one yet. Like everyone has to like use a normal airbrush and then like change it, like pull some needle out somewhere or whatever. I am looking for an airbrush that like is meant for latex paint, and I feel like, why is that so difficult to find? Like, I'm trying to find one that's made for latex paint, and if I find one, I will share it, because the sticking of the airbrush and the cleaning of the airbrush, it just is too much. It's too time consuming for me. I say that as I'm taking 15 minutes on a flower, but I did have an airbrush. I broke it because I just couldn't get it unstuck. And I couldn't deal with like spending an hour cleaning it from the latex paint. So I gave up on that one, and I've been researching other ones. Okay, I'm gonna get in the center now, and then I'll show you what I do to blend it. Okay, now I'm gonna take it. Again, it's really hard for you to kind of see it's in there because I'm going to come up higher with the watered down version. So again, this is not bottled water. This is from my sink, but it was just what I could bring over here without having to walk back and forth. Okay, so I'm really watering it down, guys, so that it's going to be like a very different shade of paint. I have a smaller paintbrush here. The other thing with an airbrush that I've had trouble doing is getting that vibrant color. Because you have to water it down, the latex paint down so much, it makes it so you aren't getting the exact color that you want. And so that wouldn't work. So yeah, because I used to use rubbing alcohol and it was not good. I'm watering this down more, guys, because it's still dark. Now this really is my drinking water, but for the sake of this video. And you can do, like, depending on the size of your flower and stuff, you can do like a few different shades. But this is going to be a lighter shade than your bottom so that it naturally goes into the white. So it's not just like dark and then light. Does anyone have any questions about like regular dyeing? Asking questions about like what can be dyed, what can't be dyed. Again, I don't dip anything with a rolled edge. It's just not worth it. I usually then just waste the flour. But you can do different things like spray painting and such. That petal just needs to go. I don't see any questions, so I tried to answer all the questions that were given to me about special flowers. What else? What was the other question? Curled flowers. Again, try the bag for some of those stronger flowers because that really saved time. Just making sure that you're getting your, everyone asks ratio, like, I don't know. I would just say you just keep adding paint until you're happy, or keep adding water until you're happy. But if you're wanting it like a dark red or a very navy blue, and you're wanting it to be true to the color that it is, make sure you do a lot of paint, because that's the only way to do it and get it that way. So, and also, if you think about it too, not if you think about it, but if you realize that obviously the darker the lighter, but it's also about being more opaque or being more translucent. So obviously the more water you use, the more translucent it will be. And I do not like a translucent flower. I like my flowers to be like a solid color. And the more paint that's in your water, the more solid your flower will be. Like you won't see grain or anything like that. And I like that if I'm trying to get a flower to look like a real flower, because when it's translucent, you can see kind of all the grain and stuff, which again, for certain things like home decor and stuff, but for weddings it's difficult because you're wanting that solid color. Yeah, Jessica, people do it and people are successful, but like I'm not successful in doing rolled edges. And so if I want something with a rolled edge to have color, I usually do something like this where it's darker and you can still see color, but it's not going to be a solid color because I just don't dip them. Yeah, I try to warn people about it, but a lot of people love those bird roses and they're beautiful, but I just keep them raw. But people do use the muffin tins and those like Sola cups and just turn it upside down immediately. But I still have trouble doing that. I'll admit that there are lots of things that I don't know how to do, and that's one of them. It's very hard for me to figure out how to get it where it's nice. Again, if I have to do them, I always just, when they're a little bit damp, I put hot glue and I roll it into the hot glue so that it's like forces it to be rolled. So that's the only way that I do it. All right, I'm almost coming to my center. In these flowers, your centers are always darker. So you're gonna wanna make sure that you make sure your centers are darker. I do this sometimes like late at night if I have to do hand painting. I do it late at night and I'll just do it in front of the TV or something. I can listen to the TV at least because it's kind of a tedious project. Some people love hand painting. I like the results of hand painting. It's time consuming. Okay. All right. Again, so you're giving the illusion that it's colored, but you're not having to touch your rolled edges. So, yes. Everyone had questions about dyeing and now nobody has questions about dyeing. On the camera, it looks so weird and my fingers look purple. Okay, it doesn't look weird in real life, but in that light, it looks really weird. So ignore what you're seeing on your screen because in this light, it's like shining on the orange, but in real life, oh! I just dropped it in my water. Now you're gonna see what it's like when you dip the rolled edges. All right, guys, so I just dipped it. And it's staying rolled, but it was in there for like 2 seconds. Maybe I should just dip it and see what happens. At this point, half my flower just fell into it and it's still okay. So, but it does look weird with this lighting. I promise it doesn't look weird in real life. You can't even see the orange that much in real life, but I think the lighting is kind of odd. But that's a good way to test out your dipping, but just dip them. Yeah, you can dip them really quickly. Actually, now that this is wet, I can dip it really quickly and just show you. Just got my table with paint. All right, hold on. I'm gonna dip it real fast and I'm gonna lay it upside down and see what happens because now that I dropped it in there and ruined it anyway. So if you're dipping, you have to dip it like super duper 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 fast. I'm afraid to do this. I feel like it's gonna unravel in front of you, but you can see, it'll be a good experiment. All right, ready? I'm gonna do it fast and then I'm gonna throw it right onto the shirt upside down. Okay. Let's see what happens. No problem, Laura. I like to do this part. I mean, I don't love being on a camera. I don't love being on a camera, but I love teaching and I love seeing people succeed. The camera part's not my favorite. I'd rather just be in pajamas all day, but all right, let's see what happens because I dipped that one really, really fast. It's cold water too, so okay, it's okay. So I bet you if I put this in the oven, it would be fine. So now we know. But I have to keep it upside down because as I let it go, it's gonna... You should have said, with latex, you need the additive. What additive? Oh, maybe I didn't see your first comment, Janet. I think I missed your comment, Janet, because I'm not really sure what you're talking about. So I sit here and I just like keep rolling the edges. Can you see this flower? So I just keep making sure it's rolled. Guys, I dipped it and it really didn't like fall apart, but the edges might. So you could just touch it with some hot glue. So now this one's not bad, but the bird roses unravel faster. I promise, but it's so weird with this lighting. It looks like dots of orange. So weird. All right, well, this one didn't unravel. I dipped it fast and I put it upside down, so you make it very relatable and easy for us to learn. I'd love to see you rock your jammies. Laura, my coworkers see me in my pajamas and it's like a little awkward because I'm a little bit comfortable, but we work in my house and they have like my door code and they just come in. So sometimes, you know. Okay, So you don't have to put in the oven, but usually it takes like 24 hours to air dry before you can use them. I actually put them in laundry baskets and in front of the fan, and yeah. I wonder if I could dip this in the pink on the tips. Now that we're just experimenting, let's see what that does. I don't know, it might be too wet. I might ruin this flour, but it's okay because I'm not using it for anything anyway. Okay, so I'm gonna dip it real fast and then I'm gonna put it upside down onto my drying thing, okay? Just the tip of it, just the little bit, okay? I mean, orange and pink might look weird, but let's see. All right, guys, I'm gonna do it. Okay, I got my paint. It's pretty thick, so I only need it for 10 seconds. Again, this was the Mademoiselle, pretty sure about that. I'm gonna dip real fast and put it on thing, okay? Ready? Let's try it. Okay, let's just see what happens. As it gets wetter, it starts to unfold, but you can just keep touching it and rolling their edges. But if I were to dry it, yeah, this is why I don't really love to do rolled edges, but this one is pretty tightly rolled, and I think that's why it's staying, because of how the layers go. So that still looks pretty, guys. It didn't unravel. Ooh, it matches my dress, orange and pink. Huh. I didn't plan that. But look, matches my dress, orange and pink. I probably would dry it like that. I feel like I would even want to like blow dry it so it didn't move anywhere. Yeah, Janet, I wanted to use one for the sprayer for your house. But I was like, I don't need to do 10 million flowers at one time, so isn't that like a big, crazy one? I do know that Home Depot has something to turn latex paint into spray paint, and I'm thinking of trying that. So if I buy that, I will definitely do a tutorial on it. But this flower stayed okay. It was cold water, and I did it really fast, and I put it directly down on its face, and it's staying. If any of the edges start to uncurl, I just rolled it back. So yeah, so this is a flower that you can apparently dip dye. Go figure. Okay, so, but bird roses, I have a particularly hard time with them, but yeah, this, like, legitimately, I could wear this on my shirt and it match. Okay, so I think I've done the basics of dyeing, right? We talked about color differences. The more paint, here, let me put them in front of me. The more paint you have, let me show you. Okay, so this was a really watered down. Here, let me put this down. I'm so scared I'm gonna break it. But, okay, really watered down. Okay, I hand painted this earlier and turned it into a boutonniere. This is really watered down. This is half watered down, so see how it got darker. I will answer that, Janet, in 1 second. And then I added more paint. And again, can you see the difference on the light? I don't know, but so the more paint, the closer you get to. So this has got a lot of paint in it, and it's pretty close to the swatch, but if I wanted it even closer, I would add just more paint, almost no water, because you can do this with almost no water. I swear I'm gonna put paint on my face. What would you recommend for airbrushing? Laura, I did not recommend anything because all the ones I used, I broke, because I'm not good at cleaning things up like that, taking it apart and all that random stuff. So I'm gonna find one or find something that I think we could do that for. So Janet, I have an electric oven, and I do 250, and for the first like 3 minutes, I lift them up every minute so they don't stick. And then I do like every 3 minutes until they're almost dry. So when you're drying them, don't dry them all the way, because if you dry them all the way where like the center is dry, it means your tips are overdone and they will crack. So you want to do it where your center is still a little bit damp, and then that will keep your edges softer that way. Because if your center dries, it means your tips are over dried. So don't do it till your entire flower is dry. But look, this flower stayed together. I just added a new flower that I can dip because I was always afraid to ruin these guys, but I thought for the sake of the video, since I dropped it in there, I might as well. So that one did good. But again, also you can kind of keep rolling it under if it starts to untuck. But that one came out pretty good. Hold on. All right, so again, I'll show you on this. So do you see like this dark color and how it's pretty solid? It needed almost the whole jar of paint for these. But again, I just used bare and it stays pretty squishy. And as long as I didn't over dry them in the oven, they'll stay squishy. The tips, you know, on Dahlia, people worry about the tips chipping. Like bare paint just is really good for it. I don't know if oven drying has anything to do with it. I don't air dry anything because I don't have the time to do that. But they're nice and squishy and moldable. Again, so when this part here is damp, because if it was dry, that means all these little tips were over dry and they'll snap right off. So, Erica, you said I answered all the questions that people had? A peony I didn't answer because I have a video only on peonies. You know, very watery if you want that watercolor hand paint situation. Gets darker as you add more paint and more opaque. If you're doing skin, you can use a Q-tip to wipe it off the skin so that it's two-toned. I love almonds in blue. They're like my favorite. Apparently, the Mademoiselle, you can dip dye, so that's fun. I don't use glycerin. I don't use glycerin because I haven't needed it. Like nothing breaks from me right now. So yeah, this is just bare paint. If you use glycerin, I would just suggest a little drip. Again, I don't know the long-term effects of glycerin, and since it's a new concept here, I don't know if the measurements that everybody talks about is right. But I would just do a drop of it if I were, but I'm okay with it because my flowers don't chip. I mean, like, I don't know. I don't need the tips to be any stronger than this. So, yeah. Christina, I dry it face down because the bottom, it doesn't matter what it looks like, really. So, I don't want to put it face down in case it does stick or something. I won't have to worry about it, but, yeah. Any other questions? Okay. No questions about dyeing? We did one in a bag. If you just watched, we dyed this one in a baggie and it, like, there's no white spots. I have to say, in the baggie, it covers better than when I dipped it. So I don't know about that, but if you want to try it with, I wouldn't do it with gentle flowers, but, and any flower that can't sit in the water for a long time, I wouldn't do that either. Because obviously when you shake it, you have to, whatever. So like this one is pretty delicate. This is called Amore, and it's got kind of thinner petals like out there, so I wouldn't shake like something like this up in it. I just dipped this one. So any other questions before I go? This one's still fine. Look guys, it didn't really uncurl, and if I would have put it in the oven, it would have already been almost dry and it would have stayed. So look, it matches me. I just love that. But okay, so see, it didn't really uncurl, this one. So maybe if you have trouble with bird roses like I do, maybe you should try these instead. Yes, I dry them face up, Erica, because the bottom sits down. Oh, did I say down? Wait. You said you dried them flowers face down, but would the paint pull to the petals? I don't face down. The bottom is down. Did I say it wrong? Maybe I said it wrong, but the bottom is down, face up. The front of the flower is up so that it's not peeling, because this is the important part, not the bottom. So I dry it like this, how I'm holding it right now. Anyway, if you have trouble doing bird roses, this might be a better option because I don't do bird roses, and yet look how nice that one came out. And I'm excited about it, so I might like start dyeing these now. Anyone else excited that these did not uncurl? Because I'm excited about that. Because I have a million of these in my basement that I don't use unless someone wants raw. So, any other questions about flowers that you can't dye, or you can dye, or you dip dye, or paint, or whatever? If not, we are done. There's this one ghetto petal. Nope, everyone's good? Everyone got their answers to dyeing? Again, we're just doing basics. I have done videos on like painting the hydrangea and all that kind of stuff. So those are like more intense, and you can certainly watch those videos for like the next step up. But yeah, so again, you can see all the difference of colors just depending on, you know, how much dye you used and stuff like that. So I think that is all. I need to go wash my hands, and I will maybe see you tomorrow. I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing tomorrow on the page, so it might just be a post. It might not need to be a video. So I will look to see, because I know a bunch of people asked different things for the Back to the Basics week. I will see what everyone suggested, but you might not need to see my face tomorrow. You might just need a post. So if that's the case, then I won't see you tomorrow, but I will see you next time. I've had problems in the past with edges uncurling. I just hopped in to have to watch from the beginning. Yeah, Kathleen, I just did this one and it worked out, okay? But I've done bird roses and it's not worked out. So, hey Erica, do you want to put the link up for this Mademoiselle guy? Because this one's a good alternative because it kind of looks like the bird rose. Kind of got the same feel, and it dipped just fine. Glitter. I wouldn't put glitter in the oven, and I oven dry it. So when I use glitter, which I don't like to use glitter, anyone who knows me, I'm not a glitter kind of person. I'm not a jewels kind of person. But if I was going to use glitter, I use a spray-on glitter, like when it's all dry. Once it's dried, I go, but I try to, I got blue paint all over me. I try to use glitter as little as possible. But, yeah. So anyway, Erica, if you can put the link up for this flower, because this one did not uncurl when I dipped it. And maybe it's a good alternative for those of you who are bird rose, whatever, messer-uppers like I am. So anyway, if she can put that up, then maybe you can use those instead, because they're really great, because this did not unravel at all. Thank you, Erica. So if you're wanting an alternative that doesn't, I think because it's how it's twisted in it, it kind of holds itself in. I think it's because of how the petals are placed. So that's good. All right, I'm done. I'll talk to you soon. See you guys later. If you have any questions on the replay, go ahead and put them in, and I will answer any painting questions. Again, we were just trying to get the basic, I'm gonna pin it. Basic idea of dyeing, how much water to add, that kind of stuff. So if you have any more intense questions, go ahead and ask me and we can go over that. So, okay, have a good day.